Hey everybody, today's video I am talking about an article that I read that I thought was really funny because I'm from Southern California and just the comparisons, I was like, oh, that's so true. And a friend of mine sent this to me and I was just busting up laughing, and I thought that it was really fitting that the person who wrote this article is from Southern California and moved to North Carolina. And so I was like, yes, I get it. So I just kind of wanted to share it with you. So the article is called 20 Things Nobody Tells You About Moving Out of Southern California. So you've decided to move out of Southern California. That's a life decision you've made, you're comfortable with it, and here you go. I grew up in Claremont, California, just outside of Los Angeles. When I left for college in North Carolina, there were a ton of things I found out about being a SoCal expat. Things people think about Southern California, misconceptions, things I had no idea I was doing, and massive culture shock. 19 years later, I still live in Eastern North Carolina and still run into culture shock being away from Southern California. If you're thinking of moving away, especially to the East Coast, think about these 20 things before you bail on Cali. And I do think it's just a little funny because when people find out where I'm from, they do have a lot of questions, and I don't know, I guess I'm amused. The first one, and there's only a couple that I'm like, I don't really agree with it. But number 20 is you have an accent. No, really. Southern California accent, you say? Yep, totally a thing. Go watch Point Break and listen to Keanu Reeves. That's absolutely what we sound like to the rest of the country. Your pronunciation of words like yeah, so, and your overuse of the word dude, these things stick out like sore thumbs. Don't even get me started on the non-existence of the word bra outside of California. Okay, I read that wrong. I thought, the first time I read it, I thought that they were saying like we do use the word bra, and we really don't. Like, it's very rare. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, like, people, they kind of stereotype surfers and like, hey bra, you know, and that's what's in movies, but that's not really what we do. I do use the word dude a lot though, but I'm not like, hey dude, sup dude? Like, it's more like, oh dude, that's so cool. I do use that. I'm not sure what they mean about the word so and yeah, so I guess, I don't know. I really don't think I have an accent when I think about people. I think about like Southern accents and English accents and things like that, but I feel like we sound very plain, I guess, or non-accent, but like I said, I guess people from another country would be like, oh, you have an American accent, but my American accent is different from Southern accents. I don't know about all that. I think that that's interesting. Number 19, the Mexican food is terrible. It is true. This is true. You've eaten so much Mexican food in your life that at this point you just call it food. Leave SoCal and you will find yourself hunting for what I call acceptable Mexican food. People will tell you they know a really good Mexican place. You go there and the rice is orange and was boiled in a bag. The tamales were from a can and tacos have tostada shells. Sour cream is slathered on everything and carne asada is called steak, which it isn't. The first Mexican meal I got in North Carolina, I asked the server what I did to him to deserve such disrespect. That is true. I have not found a place here that satisfies my Mexican food craving. There's a restaurant in California that I love. Like, I crave it all the time. And I'm just like, oh, I miss it. And I haven't found anything here that even compares. And it's a bummer. Number 18, you will become a traffic snob. 100% true. People will talk about traffic in places like Richmond and Cleveland, and you'll giggle and say, that's cute. Having lived your life having to correct travel times for rush hour on the 405 and being able to listen to the Kevin and Bean show in its entirety on your 20-minute morning commute, you know about traffic. You'll scoff that a backup that slows you down for 2 exits on the local road is called traffic. Despite the fact everyone is actually moving, you will find yourself in a spitting contest every time someone calls anything traffic. So true. People hear like their idea of traffic, I'm just like, really? Really? From where I lived and where I worked in Newport Beach should take 10 minutes. It always took me an hour to get to work and an hour to get home from work. And it was like 10 miles. And you're just like in bumper to bumper. You start to like get to know the people next to you. It is It is so bad. It is so bad. And people here, they're just like, oh my gosh, the traffic. And I'm like, this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. Number 17, most people have never heard of Social Distortion. Absolutely mind-boggling that one of the most important bands in Southern California since the Beach Boys is nearly unheard of in the rest of the country. I heard once they played a gig in Virginia Beach at a 700-person capacity club that didn't sell out. This was like hearing about a kid's birthday party that nobody showed up to. Having to play side one of Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell, your friends for the first time will totally make you sad. In fact, I might just go listen to Angel Wings right now. And I never went to a Social Distortion concert because they were like in these little dive clubs and whatnot, and that just wasn't really my scene, but Social Distortion was a big deal to a lot of people. Number 16, everyone wants to know if you've been to Compton. To you, Compton is just a place off the 105 freeway that used to have a high murder rate, but is actually pretty chill now. To the rest of the country, Compton is like Somalia. Even the word Compton is used as a synonym for Murder Town, USA. Tell someone you grew up in Southern California, they immediately want to know if you've been to Compton. When you tell them you have, they immediately think you're a Special Forces level badass. Of course, some people aren't obsessed with Compton. I stayed as far away from Compton as I could, and the one time that I went, I admit that it was scary. I went with a friend for her family member's quinceañera, and yeah, they had it in Compton. I was very scared. It was a very shady part of town. Number 15, no matter where you're from, it's Beverly Hills. If you're not from Compton, you're from Beverly Hills. There's some weird misconception that anything south of Ventura is immediately Beverly Hills. Even if you're from somewhere normal like El Monte or Baldwin Park, they immediately think it's Beverly Hills, and you grew up with Brandon and Brenda while your chauffeur drove you to school. Brandon and Brenda are from 90210, like the original 90210, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And yes, I was way too young to be watching that show, but I watched it anyway. No matter how many times I've explained where Claremont actually is and that Los Angeles is a pretty gritty town, it's Beverly Hills. I would say that this is somewhat true. People think, like, if they don't know me, that if I'm from Southern California, I must be rich, I must have famous connections, I must be spoiled, and that's not true at all. And like he mentioned here, Los Angeles is a pretty gritty town. It is. Like, the only parts of LA County are like that are nice are where people that can afford to live in the nice, like, gated off communities. Otherwise, if you're driving on the freeway, like through Los Angeles, you will even just see like the poverty, and you can see the houses and things are falling apart. It's not luxurious, and walking around the actual city of LA is pretty shady. Number 14, you will never have good produce again. I have literally stopped eating grapefruit since I left. Why? It's terrible and it just depresses me. California has absolutely the best produce in the nation, and that's fact. You have grown up with strawberries the size of your fist that taste like sugar. You know what a jicama is and why it rules. You've never had to ripen an avocado after you buy it. Your cilantro is always green. Jalapenos are 99 cents for 2 pounds and never have blemishes. Leave California and all of that ends. Your produce is never going to be up to your Cali standards. I don't know that I've like had that big of an issue. I think, like, you know, avocados, yes, but I grew up with an avocado tree in the backyard. And so if they fell off and they weren't ripe, then we'd put them in a dark place. I think the difference, or what I have found, is that here people are really supportive of farming and farmers markets. And I think, like, it's definitely a lot better now in California as far as like farmers markets go. Actually, now that I think about it, that's true. We had some pretty good produce. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have a very strong, like, that's so true. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, there's things I miss, for sure. Number 13, nobody puts the before highway names. That is absolutely true. And I can't count how many times people here have called me out on it. And I'm just like, excuse me? How do you get from Mom's house to Huntington Beach? Now, Huntington Beach, like, if you know where that is where I am from. You take the 10 to the 57 to the 22. I actually lived off the 22 freeway. Notice how each freeway had the in front of it? Yeah, nobody else does that anywhere. My first year in North Carolina, I would say the 95 to the 64 and the 64, and people would look at me like I was a sociopath. It will take more than a year to stop that if you ever do it all. I haven't either. And when we first moved here, my in-laws actually said, like, you should stop saying the, because I would say the 64 or the 95, and they're like, you should stop saying that. People don't do that here. It's incorrect. And I'm like, I'm not incorrect. No, like, it's the 405, the 22. I still do it and I'm proud of it. And there's those little like quizzes on like Facebook or whatever that people say like, what kind of language do you speak or where are you from? And really like the map just like blackens out, and Southern California is like only people who say the. I don't know where it came from or why we do it, but. Number 12, your NFL affiliation is completely random. There's no NFL team in Los Angeles. You have nobody to root for except maybe the Chargers, but who wants to do that? You might remember pulling for the Rams, or if you're in a gang, the Raiders. Yeah, that was literally decades ago. While you might still watch the NFL, you will find yourself having to justify to people why you're a Green Bay Packers fan despite never having been to Wisconsin. Why? Because you chose a team at random so you don't feel left out. My father is a Colts fan, and if you ask him why he pulls for the Colts, he'll tell you, if you don't, nobody else will. And that, like, I'm not super into sports anyways. Like, I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's fun if you're gathering and watching a game, but I would root whoever my grandpa was rooting for. I'd root whoever my dad was rooting for. I was just kind of like, I don't know what's going on. Who knows? I ran into Matt Leinart when he was playing for USC, so I became a USC fan because I was like, I met the guy that plays on that team. Oh, whatever. Number 11, you will crave In-N-Out like it was crack. Nobody knows the supreme joy of wrapping your mouth around a double-double made just how you like it. You've been used to going to In-N-Out whenever you want. That's over and your body will begin craving it bad. Sophomore year of college, my mom came out to visit and I made her put a double-double in 3 bags and foil in her carry-on. I ate that sucker at baggage claim like I had just gotten out of captivity and with absolutely zero shame about it. I really miss In-N-Out. Really, it's good. In-N-Out is really good. And they stay on the cheaper end of like fast food, which I've always really liked because you would see like McDonald's and Carl's Jr. and all these prices go up. And while In-N-Out has to raise the prices for inflation, like it was never super duper pricey. I don't know. It was good. And they paid really well for a fast food joint. I had friends that worked there. And they're a Christian company and they have like, if you look at the bottom of their fries, they always have like a Bible verse on the bottom. Number 10, everyone thinks you surf. Sure, maybe you did surf, but it's just assumed. And if you didn't, just say you did. People are mystified when I tell them about how I would cut 6th period once a week to go surf Huntington. Yet I have another friend who has never touched a surfboard in his life and would probably die if he paddled out. Yet for some reason, everyone is convinced he's Kelly Slater. I have surfed or tried to surf, but I was never a surfer. Yeah, that just, it scares me. I always thought I was going to get killed by a surfboard. I like boogie boarded, but surfing, no, not a surfer, but I like to watch the surfers. They would surf in the winter and I was like, you guys are crazy. Number 9, humidity is a thing and it sucks. Very true. You don't go outside in August, right? Because it's 112 degrees and that ranks high on the you have to be kidding me scale. Move to the East Coast or the South and you'll see 92 degrees in the forecast and assume you can do this standing on your head. Then you go outside and you are smacked in the face with a wall of humidity. You are immediately drenched with sweat and your hair triples in size. That's humidity, and believe me, you will never get used to it. I used to complain about the heat in California, and I think mainly that's because our house didn't have air conditioning. So when it was hot, like it was, I couldn't get away from it unless I was at someone else's house or I went to the mall or something. I will gladly take that over East Coast heat, and that is probably the number one reason why, like, I'm just like, that's the number one thing I hate about here is the humidity. Like, I can't stand it. I fear it. I don't like it. Just thinking about it makes me miserable. Number 8, you will forget San Diego exists. You miss Los Angeles, you find yourself actually listening to Randy Newman, you dream of taco trucks and KROQ. Suddenly you're introduced to someone who is also from Southern California, and this happens. Oh man, I grew up in North Hollywood, man. Where are you from? San Diego. La Jolla, actually. Oh, well, that's nice too. And then they get all self-righteous on you because the Padres beat the Dodgers and their inferiority complex kicks in and an awkward silence drops. You stay classy, San Diego. I don't agree with this one. Like, why would I forget San Diego? Maybe because I was sandwiched in the middle. I don't know. But I love San Diego. I wouldn't forget it at all. It's pretty. And we lived there for a little bit when my husband was based at Camp Pendleton. But yeah, I don't agree with that one. Number 7, you need to know at least one famous person. You're from California. Do you know anyone famous? Because we spend all our time at red carpet premieres, everyone we know has a SAG card and your best friend is a Kardashian. That's literally what people think, and when you tell them you know nobody famous, they get disappointed. Find someone famous you know, even if it's your cousin who used to be a Laker girl, and just say you know a famous person. It's easier that way. Yeah, I don't get it as much now. Sometimes I get that question and like, no, like I'm not from a privileged background. I guess that doesn't mean that you don't know anybody famous. I've met a lot of famous people, but it's not like we're BFFs. I think like the closest to knowing, if you are a fan of All My Children or CSI Miami, I think it is, Eva LaRue, her sister and I went to school together. We were in band together, and she went on to do like some modeling and stuff like that, but now she has kids and her kids are in like H&M ads. So like there was that, but it's like I don't know. I don't know her now, but like at the time she kind of thought she was all that because her sister was a famous actress. But I guess you would when you're a kid. You want to use that to your advantage. But yeah, not like... I've been to a famous football player's house for a party. But no, I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone in my phone that I'm like, what's up? What's up? So, kind of an odd story. At my first Britney Spears concert, there was an actor. He was one of like the male guys on Sweet Valley High, and I forget his name, but I know that he had some alcohol in his drink. But I'm a teenager, but he was like talking to me about life, and he was showing me his cool flashy watch. And at one point, like, he offered like to call me. He's like, you know, I can hook you up, do things for you or whatever. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. I was scared of boys anyways, even as a teenager. Like, any male attention was really intimidating for me, which kind of shocks me that so many teenagers are having sex, because I was more like, ah, what's up? But I thought that was kind of like, why would you... I don't know. But anyways, the other thing about famous people, and this is what I have found, is it sucks when someone that you look up to or someone that you really like, when you actually meet them and they're not very nice. It's heartbreaking when that happens. And there was a couple people that I was like, I really liked them, or I watched a show and then I was like, what? Why are you so mean? And one of those people I met 3 different times. And should I say? No, I'll say it. Beverly Mitchell. She was on Seventh Heaven. And I ran into her 3 different times. And I would just say that, like, she was not very nice. And she really hurt my feelings. She made me cry. And it was heartbreaking. Like, I loved that show and I really liked her. And so for someone to just not, like, live up to what you think in your head, it's kind of like you almost prefer not meeting them, just so you don't have that image ruined, I guess. I don't know. So that's like my 2 cents. It's a lot better now, but people used to really like stereotype or think that because you're from Southern California, you're superficial and somehow like you fit into that mold. And yeah, it's just not. Well, see, it is like that. Like, it's real, but it's not real. But it's real, but it's not real. I don't know how to like say that. Like, I haven't watched The Real Housewives of Orange County shows. I've like seen episodes, and that I'm just like, oh gosh, now people are really gonna think. But then like they have the Real Housewives of Orange County, and then I realized that I was like, oh, I actually know someone in real life who could probably be on that show. It does exist. It really does exist. But one of the things that people have to keep in mind is a lot of the people that are the stereotype are people that aren't even from California. They come from another place, and they think because they're moving to Southern California, they are going to make it big. And they come with like this air of just being like, you know, like that's not all people, but a lot of people that do that. So it's, I don't know, stereotypes. I'm going to go off on that tangent. Sorry. Number 6, you will actually miss earthquakes. This sounds utterly absurd, but 2 years of the ground being entirely solid and you will start praying for at least a 3.5 to make things interesting. While you may have hated earthquakes in California, you'll actually sort of miss them. I have no explanation for it, but when I see my friends on Facebook talking about the four-pointer last night, I actually get a little homesick. Kind of, like, with other natural disasters, like you can kind of prepare for it, I guess. Like if you know that that kind of weather is coming and you have warning, where earthquakes, you don't have warning. But I don't know, tornadoes, I am terrified of a tornado. And so I think like a part of me misses that. Except I think it's really dumb, but in California, like we have a nuclear power plant that was built on a fault line, and I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why would you? That just is beyond me. But I also see the damage that earthquakes do in there. Well, it's a lot better now. I'm like going back and forth. When I was a kid, we had a really, really bad earthquake. It was the Northridge earthquake, and that is some funky stuff. Like, our floor was literally like doing this. I didn't even know that houses could do that, or the ground, but it did that, and it was scary. And then since that earthquake, they've rebuilt a lot of things to withstand earthquakes better. But yeah, like most of the people on my Facebook are California people, and so when they got their stuff going on, I'm like, oh, I'm not part of that action. We had an earthquake here though, like 2 years ago. I was really surprised. I didn't even think that we had earthquakes over here. So when it started happening, I was like, what's going on? It took me like a minute to realize what was going on. Okay. Number 5, normal stuff is famous. Have you ever seen the Hollywood sign? I have dreamed of that. Is maybe one of the most bizarre questions I have ever heard. Of course I've seen the Hollywood sign. It's freaking enormous. Have you ever been to Grauman's Chinese Theater or the Walk of Fame? People will lose their minds over this. You saw a band play at the Roxy or the Whiskey A Go-Go. This makes you awesome. These are completely normal to you and are kind of meh, but it'll impress the heck out of everyone. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of true. I think just being from Southern California elicits some wide-eyed things sometimes, only because what's on TV only shows the best parts of what it is. Like, doesn't show like the smog. Like Southern California has the dirtiest air in the entire United States. And when you see it and it's gross. But then like we have really beautiful sunsets. Like there's a lot of poverty. People just think that if you're from there, you have money, and that's not true at all. And yeah, people want to see certain things. Like I grew up going to Disneyland. I lived like 10 minutes from Disneyland. So that was a normal thing for me. And each year I was in band through high school. So every year we would perform with them. And that was just like, I love Disney. Ugh, I'm so itchy. So things like that where people like have to come and spend thousands of dollars to go to Disneyland. I didn't have to because I live near it. And so that was just kind of like expectation. But now like I get it now that I don't live there and like I want to go to Disneyland. I'm like, oh man, it's expensive. Where before I could just get a pass and then that pays for itself after a couple visits. But whew, yeah. So that's pretty true, I guess. Number 4, Sublime didn't exist before What I Got. Remember Ballin' It to Tower Records after you heard 40 Ounces to Freedom? That never happened to other people. No matter how close to your heart the first 2 Sublime albums are and that you still know all the words to Bad Fish, this band was a brand new when What I Got came on the radio. Sublime is part of your memories and you probably saw them play in some dive bar in Long Beach. Does it matter? The self-titled was their first album. The same goes for No Doubt before Just a Girl and Blink-182 before What's My Age Again. That's kind of true. Yeah, what I got is their first like popular song. And then No Doubt, they are from like my area as well. Gwen Stefani went to a local high school, and she sings about Harbor Boulevard, which is really close by. I thought that was pretty cool. Michelle Pfeiffer used to live on the same street as I did. And if you don't know who Michelle Pfeiffer is, that just makes me really, really old. Number 3, nobody else cares about area codes. And then like on this article, there's a picture and it like breaks up all the area codes. It's pretty funny. If I remember, I'll try to like insert a picture. Ever look down your nose at someone for being from the 626? Are you still furious at Riverside County for becoming 951? That was pretty funny. This is a foreign concept outside of California. You are completely proud of your area code and it is your identity. You know why the 714 are snobs and why the 818 is too far to go there for anything. Nobody anywhere else in the country takes their area code seriously and will think you are a freak because you do. I have no idea how many times I have had to explain why I have 909 pride. That is pretty true. My phone number is a 714 area code. I haven't changed it and I won't change it because I have 714 pride. But snobs, no, we're not snobs. And that might come off snobby, but we're not snobs. But I think it's pretty funny, like 909 was like the Riverside County and people would be like, oh, they're from the 909. That's where they live. And so it was bitched. That it makes me laugh. Number 2, you have been breathing poison. Oh, here we go. Smog is just a thing you deal with. While I grew up 6 blocks from the foothills of Mount Baldy, there were days I literally could see the mountains for all the smog. I never batted an eye at that until I left. Look out your window at all that haze. That doesn't happen anywhere else. You will breathe fresh air for the first time, and I'm not kidding you. The clean air will make you sick. My first semester in North Carolina, I was sick literally 9 times. I had a doctor actually tell me it's because the air is too clean and my lungs aren't used to the new stuff. I told the doctor that I don't trust the air I can't see. And yeah, I got sick a lot when we first moved here. And honestly, I think the last 3 years I've gotten sick more than I've ever been sick in like such a short period of time. Number 1, you will miss it every day. No matter how comfortable I have become in North Carolina and how much of an adopted home it's become, I'm still a California boy to the grave. Even though it's nasty, expensive, and weird as I don't know what, I love that crazy place and miss it all the time. Every desk I've ever had, I have a bear flag on it, and I still drop what I'm doing if I hear there's a high-speed chase on TV. Palm trees make me smile, and the ocean is on the wrong side. Yes, I can tell the difference. California is a state of mind, and no matter where you go, you will miss home. That is really true. Like, I'm almost getting sentimental just because like I am homesick a lot, and there's great things about here, but if my in-laws didn't live here, I wouldn't live here. I'd still be in California. And the only reason why we moved here was because we had a baby unexpectedly and it was overwhelming and scary, and I was in school full time. My husband just got out of the military. Like, it was, sometimes I wonder like where we'd be if we would have stayed. Once you move, it's hard to move back because it is so expensive. And then you kind of see, like, living somewhere else, you kind of see what you can get for the same amount of money. But I am truly a California girl. I miss home. I miss California. The last 2 summers I was lucky enough to go back for the summer. I don't know if we'll get to this summer, and that makes my little heart just into pieces. But yeah, so I think that's it. I thought it was a pretty funny article, and I just wanted to kind of share it, and yada yada yada. I'm starting to ramble. Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.